There's a calm surrender to the rush of day, when the heat of the rolling wind can't be turned away. An enchanted moment, and it sees me through. It's enough for this restless warrior just to be with you. Can you feel the love tonight? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. Can you feel the love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. There's a time for everyone, if we only learn that the twisted kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason to the wild outdoors, when the heart of this restless warrior beats in time with yours. Can you feel the love tonight? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. Can you feel the love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. The secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. Any fool can do it. There ain't nothing to it. Nobody knows how we got to the top of the hill. Since we're only here for a while, we might as well enjoy the ride. The secret of love is in opening up your heart. It's okay to feel afraid, but don't let that stand in your way. Everyone knows that love is the only road. Since we're only here for a while, we might as well show some style. Give us a smile, isn't it a lovely ride? We'll be gliding down, we'll be sliding round. Try not to try too hard, it's such a lovely ride. But the thing about time is that time isn't really real. It's just your point of view. How does it feel for you? Einstein said he could never understand it all. planets are spinning through space. The smile upon your face. Welcome to the human race. Isn't it a lovely ride? We'll be sliding down, we'll be gliding round. But try not to try too hard. It's such a lovely ride. The secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. So nice it's cooled off a little bit. It's nice to see you all today. Mellow too. We'll do a non-mellow-ish one later. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I'm on your side. When times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Dramatic pause. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. If you need a friend, sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. That was really wonderful. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. The storm scared a lot of us away, but it brought cooler weather for those of us who are here, so yeah, there's always a give and take in life. Tonight we were going to have acknowledge or reward one of our Venus Manley scholarships. Unfortunately, the young lady has a little bit of a fever, so her parents kept her away. So maybe Dr. Conjula can come next week and we can do that as well. Jim, I know I hadn't asked you before, and you don't like surprises, but would you mind coming up and doing an opening treatment for us? Come on up, Jim Saul.
Good evening.
Good evening.
nature always is a divinely inspired thing that we live in. So sometimes it rains on us, and sometimes it shines on us, and sometimes it's just nice and cool. So I appreciate it. So let's have a spiritual mind treatment this evening. Find a comfortable place, maybe close your eyes, and know with me that the divine is right here. It's right here with the noise of the traffic. It's right here with the rustle of the trees and the breeze in your face. It's right here, and we can know that it's here. We can recognize the divine right where we are right now. And when we recognize that divine right now, we can use that wisdom, that compassion, that love for our benefit. So in that vein, what I'd like to say is that I know that this divine intelligence is guiding this center. It's guiding all of us on a personal basis. It's guiding the planet. It has a loving, compassionate nature, and it will be that compassionate part in our lives. And so I know that each and every one of us can let go of any fear or frustration with this virus. We can let go of any worry and know that this divine intelligence guides you in a loving way. So I give thanks for this divine intelligence, for it guides me in every step I take, and it guides each and every one of us in the same manner. And I know that I am grateful for this center, for it has been such a part of my life, and so many people here have also been a part of that divine intelligence, teaching me and being compassionate towards me and loving me. And so know that this same divine intelligence is within each and every life, each and every moment, each and every time that we have a challenge, or that we have bliss, or we have whatever is in our life. It is still here, and we can be aware of it. And I know that that's true. And I know that this divine intelligence is loving and compassionate, and I embrace that totally. And I can release this prayer to be so simply by saying, and so it is.
Thank you, Jim. Well, with all the stuff that's going on in our nation right now, I always get asked, why are we going through this? Why is all of this happening to us? And I will tell you why it's happening to us. It's happening to us so that some of the negative stuff from our history and some of our negative behaviors can be brought to light so we can heal them. And it's happening because a better day is coming for us. I know this to be true. Every intuition is telling me this. And that better day is not that far off. We're very close to it. The dawn is already breaking. We're almost there. The dark of the night has passed. And why has the dark been so dark? Why has it been so dark? And why has it been so frightening? Because that is how glorious the dawn is going to be. We're stepping into a new age, a new time for ourselves, each other, for our nation and the world. And we're going to light the way. We've done this historically. You know, you think about it, when the immigrants were first coming to our nation, a Frenchman decided that he was going to create a statue that would lift a lamp of liberty, that would light all the world. You know, when you hear stories of people coming to the island or New York, they said they would get out on those boats and that they would look for that statue, and they would know that it was a beacon of possibilities for them. Well, that's what is happening now. We are entering a new day, a new possibility, and it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be glorious, and we're making it happen. You know, I have so many spiritual heroes in my life, people who really inspire me, to do greater and to think better and to lift my eyes up to my better possibilities. And one of them is actually here tonight. And when I talk of a hero, for me a hero is a person who's willing to step beyond their comfort and do the right thing when it doesn't necessarily affect them. They do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And this is my friend, Reverend David Williamson. He's going to come up and talk to us a little bit about his work in racial reconciliation here in town, because he's done a lot of really amazing stuff. And then he's going to do a prayer for the healing of our nation. So I can't wait to hear him tonight. My heart is so full that he's here to come and speak to us. Come on up, Reverend David.
Air hugs. I didn't know who Ken was talking about when he was introducing this person who's done this amazing work. I love that song, Like a Bridge Over Troubled Water, and I thought, may the center of spiritual living in St. Augustine be like that bridge covering the trouble, you know. And I would say that's probably a great metaphor for the way I have understood my own life and my own work. I am a pastor of Grace United Methodist Church, and I was raised Methodist, and so my spiritual life really centered around learning about Jesus and following Jesus. And initially, that was all about wanting to get to heaven after I died, right? To be with my grandpa, who died when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I was in, man. Yeah, if it means I get to go be with him, you know, later on, count me in. And of course, life goes on, and my understanding of faith and life matures and grows. And here recently, you know, I just realized how much Jesus cares about the world that God made. And it's not so much about figuring out ways to get out of this place as much as it is figuring out ways to live in light of this spirit that made us, you know, and to live our lives in ways that reflect that beauty here with one another. I'm very conscious that Jesus said the words, you know, the Spirit has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, to bring recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. And that's the work here and now, right? And so I've just decided Jesus is just the sort of guy who's going to move close to the broken places, to be that bridge over the trouble, you know, and to be right there as close as possible to it. And if I'm a follower of one like that, then I also am compelled to move as close as I can to the trouble. Not because I'm got some power in my own or I'm so great, just because I think that's where God shows up, you know, that's where the Spirit is pleased to dwell. And that honestly is the fundamental calling that has kept me in the game when it has gotten tough. And it does get tough, right? It gets tough. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. All I know is that God is pleased to dwell in this space where there is brokenness, where people are crying out. And so I heard the cries of my brothers and sisters who are Black in our community, talking about things like a culture of white supremacy and of racism. And of course, my ears were like, what? I thought everything was okay. I thought things had gotten better. You know, we don't have segregation laws anymore. I don't have signs on my door that, and neither do you, I'm glad to see, whites only, you know. So I wondered what's going on and what is this about? And so I just decided I, again, move closer to this space and understand more. And it's been quite a journey, one in which people have not understood why I'm doing what I'm doing, and you know, they've decided to move elsewhere. Very painful to lose friends and church members over these kinds of things. Wondered if I would survive as a pastor in St. Augustine for too long, and again, because, well, God is pleased to dwell in this space, and by that grace, I'm still here, and I'm glad to say I'm still here. So there is just and I will just leave you with a set of guidelines that we use. And if you've come and joined us, and I know that Brenda is doing that on Tuesdays at noon, there's a Zoom community conversation in St. Augustine by Zoom now, where we learn tools to be multicultural change agents in our community. And they're tools that are taught by an organization called Visions Inc. And you can look them up on the internet. They just do diversity, equity, and inclusion work for businesses and churches and organizations, schools, governments across the nation. And so we learn these tools, and their first tool is called a set of guidelines for cross-cultural dialogue. And in terms of what can we do, I thought maybe I would just share the guidelines, many of which you will recognize, hey, I'm already doing this, which is great. So as I share them, I would just invite you to think, how are you doing these things? And which one of these might be one that is challenging to you that you might want to try working on? And the first one happens to be try on. The guideline, try on. Just move closer to differences in thinking, differences in behavior, differences that wouldn't be your preference. Just move closer, try it on. And when you go to a store and you see something that you'd like to try on, you try it on, but you don't necessarily like it, love it, and take it home with you, right? So the second guideline is that it's okay to disagree. When you try on, it's okay to disagree. And when we disagree, it is not okay to attack, shame, or blame ourselves or others, right? And that's the second guideline. It's okay to disagree. It's not okay to attack, shame, or blame ourselves or others. The third guideline is to use self-focus. And you guys do a fantastic job of that here in your spiritual practices. Paying attention. I noticed that Jim, as you were talking, giving the treatment as we began, you spoke a lot about what you know and what you're experiencing and what you're feeling. That's self-focus. You talk about what's going on inside here, right? So think about the number of times that I refer to we should, or you should, and try to say I instead, right? That's self-focus. Self-focus is also about understanding our emotional intelligence, realizing that we experience change in thinking, in behavior, and feeling. And so self-focus is an invitation to grow in our understanding of what's going on in here feeling-wise. So understand sad, mad, scared, peaceful, powerful, joyful. Sort of the 6 fundamental feelings that we have. And what are those feelings telling us when we have them? When I'm scared, I want to find a place of safety and security. When I'm sad, I need comfort, assurance, a place where I can release and let go. When I am mad, I recognize that a boundary has been crossed, that I need to restore the boundary and set limits, right? So just recognizing what the feeling is that you have and what the need that you have for that feeling. So that's self-focus. Then use both and thinking. Both and thinking is an invitation to hold 2 things together that you might not think go together. It's holding together both sadness and joy at the same time. It's recognizing that my preference for worship probably is to be more contemplative, and I can also gather with large crowds of people and sing boisterously too, right? So both and thinking. Then recognize process and content. A guideline of process and content is about recognizing how things are done. That's the process. And then the content is what is being said. Who's doing all the talking? Right now I am. And so that's part of the process. And we want to see that there's more than just one white guy doing all the talking, right? So that's process and content. And then the 6th guideline is noticing intent and impact. That there's a difference between what you may intend and what the impact of your behavior is. So I love to use the Confederate Memorial as an example of intent and impact, because that memorial, intent-wise, represents my heritage. I grew up in the South. My family, many of them fought for the Confederacy, and I identify as a person whose family could be represented on the Confederate Veterans Memorial in St. Augustine. And I recognize that the impact of that monument and the institution that it represents is dehumanizing to my Black brothers and sisters. And so I hold that as a both and as well. I recognize this does represent part of my heritage, and I recognize that the current impact is dehumanizing to people that I love, my neighbors. And so therefore, I make a decision to agree to move it to a private piece of property instead of keep it in a public space. That's me. That's how I've processed that, using intent and impact and both and thinking. Then finally, the last guideline is confidentiality. And this is where we just agree to tell our own story instead of other person's stories, unless they've given us permission to tell their story. So self-focus, right? You tell your story, and if someone else tells a story that you really love and you want to share, just ask their permission to share it before you do. Of course, when you read books written by maybe people of color, and that's published material, then you can tell stories that you hear or read about in those books. It's just that if a person shares with you here tonight or in another setting a part of their story, ask permission before you share it with someone else. That way it builds trust in our community. So those are 7 guidelines for cross-cultural dialogue that have been really helpful for me, and they're ones that we practice on, well, that we teach in that Tuesday conversation and encourage people to go and use in their families, in their neighborhoods, the places of businesses, wherever they might do life. So with that, I'll share a prayer with us. Loving God, thank you for meeting with us here tonight and for the gift of this community in St. Augustine. I pray your rich blessing upon Pastor Ken and the Center for Spiritual Living, that they might embody the beauty of that bridge over the troubled waters, that you might grant them your peace during this time and the courage and the grace to go be people of courage and grace in our city. We thank you, Lord, for tonight, this beautiful evening, and we pray your blessing upon it. Amen.
Thank you. We'll get information for you, and we'll send it out on the e-blessing and on our contact stuff about how you can get into the Zoom meeting with Reverend David. So we'll make sure that is spread. And just to give you a great illustration of what a really great and amazing guy he is, I told him before the service, I was like, now David, I know you're really busy, so once you get through doing your spiel, if you want to sneak out, you don't have to stay and listen to my talk. And he was like, no, Ken, I'll stay and listen to you. We don't know if he's going to do that a second time. If he comes back, he might get wise up a little bit, but he's just a great guy. And so I know we can support him and love him, and just really, he's doing some good stuff here. All right, Elizabeth, you got another song for us?
Sure. Listen as your day unfolds, challenge what the future holds. Try to keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted, don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stick together. All I know is love will save the day. Hear what your mother says, read the books your father read. Try to solve the puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you, Others take a different view. My, oh my, yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stick together. All I know is love will save the day. Got to be bold, got to be bad, got to be strong, never sad. You got to be tough, not too tough. All I know is love will save the day.
Hey, thank you, Elizabeth. So with the 4th of July this weekend, I thought it was important to talk about freedom and what it means to us and the impact and how we give our freedoms away too easily. Because regardless of what Janis Joplin might have sang in our youth, freedom is not just another word. Maybe if she had ditched old dusty, musty Bobby McGee sooner, who needs an old dusty, musty hippie around singing the blues anyway? I say if you're going to be a hippie, put some flowers in your hair and sing a happy song. And if you can't do that, at least get in the kitchen and bake us up some awesome brownies. I mean, that's what hippies are for. So we want to appreciate our freedoms and value our freedoms. We give them away. Dr. Holmes, he was the founder of our teaching. He said that freedom is the divine plan. It used to drive Judy James crazy when I would say in class, God has a plan for you. But she didn't like that idea. But God has a plan for you, and it's freedom and more freedom. Freedom and more freedom. Freedom to be more of you. That's what the God's plan for you. And not when we get all saintly and perfect. We don't have that much time to wait. Right as we are, we have all the freedom available to us to grow into the perfection of God. Because that's what we're doing. We're growing into the perfection of God. And Dr. Holmes says that we will all get there. No, not one of us will be missing. We're all going to make it. In fact, we all have to make it. It'd be like having a 4th of July picnic and not having potato salad. It just wouldn't be complete. It won't be complete until we all get there. Dr. Holmes says it's in our inherent nature to be seeking self-expression in terms of freedom, to be more of what we've come to life to do. He said if we would just listen to that inner voice. He says we have an inner voice within us that's forever whispering to our soul of a life wonderful in scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which our soul craves. We crave freedom, but yet we play too small with the universe. We bargain away our freedoms and aspirations for our longing for security. Helen Keller, who was a really wonderful spiritual leader, and a lot of her writing, if you ever get a chance to really read some of Helen Keller's stuff, it's very much in line with our teaching. She said that the idea of security is largely a myth for humans. She said it doesn't really exist that much. That we all have to turn loose of the trapeze of security and fling ourselves into the possibilities of the universe. When was the last time you flung yourself into the possibilities of the universe? Because it means turning loose of ideas about how your life is supposed to be, of what you thought your life was supposed to be, what you thought yourself was supposed to be. Now, many of you know that I really focused a great deal on my teacher, Kennedy Schultz, from Atlanta. He had a big, huge congregation in Atlanta, over 700 people. He ministered at the Rich Auditorium. And in his life, he said there were two systems of thought that really had saved his life. And those two systems were science of mind, of course, but the first one was recovery, AA. He said without AA, his life would have been lost. He said that when he was drinking, he never turned down a drink unless he misunderstood the question. So he got to AA, And he got very much into recovery. He got much into the program. He had gone several years into recovery. And then he felt like something was missing in his life. He felt like he needed to grow and expand. And so he began to voice this idea to the meetings that he was going to. And the people in the meetings basically told him, you're risking your sobriety. You need to be satisfied with where you are and what you are. And don't try to expand anything further. That you're a sober person, and that's all you need to focus on. And he said that he realized after a while that he had to grow beyond that. That he wanted to stay sober, but he also wanted to explore. And so he moved away from this whole group of friends. Now, he didn't give up the 12-step program. He focused on that to the very last of his days. But he moved beyond, and I'm very grateful that he did, because if he hadn't have done that, he probably wouldn't have become the minister that I was to know and to love. Now, Kennedy did become a really amazing minister. He was teaching to a wide, huge group of people in Atlanta. I got in at the very end of his ministry, and I never really knew him personally at all. But I became a big student of his. I probably have listened and studied to most of his sermons. And, of course, I modeled myself a lot after him. And I thought that as I went into the ministry, I thought, well, that's what I will be. But you know what? I got to a certain place, and I realized that, no, I needed to grow beyond that. Kennedy, the way he taught science of mind, was that all we needed to focus on was our consciousness, our thinking. That if we had our thinking right, that it would resolve all the problems around us. And I've come to believe that we not only have a consciousness, but we've got feet, we've got hands, and we're in this world that does have problems. So not only do we have to get our thinking right, but we need to get doing stuff. We need to get out in the world and solving what problems we can. Tonight, we were supposed to have one of the winners of the Venus Manley Scholarship Program. You know, we give out 3 scholarships each year to kids with special challenges, special needs. And she wasn't able to make it. And I'm sad that she wasn't, but she may get to next week. We also are really moving ahead with the Elizabeth Clare program. Elizabeth Clare was our former minister. She gave us a donation from her will. And one of the things that we're doing is we want to help young women who are helping themselves. Young women who may have had challenges and want to need some extra help so they can get out and improve their lives. And so we're going to start giving scholarships to these young women. And we've got several coming up. So we're moving ahead and making a difference in the world, and I think it's what we're called to do. It's, life changes, and you have to change with it. Now, our freedom comes from knowing that regardless of what comes along in life, because who knew this virus was going to show up? If I had gone to a psychic and they told me, Ken, there's going to come a virus and you're going to be giving talks outside in a parking lot, I would have wanted my money back. It's like, who are you kidding? I'm not going to, in the summer in St. Augustine with heat and humidity and bugs, I'm not talking out in a parking lot. But here I am. Life changes, and we have to go with it. But our freedom comes from knowing that regardless of what we face, we've got the power and goodness and intelligence of God flowing through us. And we can meet any challenge. And our ability to do it is by what do we focus on? Do we focus on our problems, or do we focus on our possibilities? Because keeping your eyes on God's possibilities, you can create a heaven on earth, even if you're in the middle of hell. One of my favorite authors, a book that I read in college, actually, long time ago. Surprised I actually can remember that far back, but changed my life. And it was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. If you haven't read it, or maybe it's been a long time, get it back out and read it again. Because Viktor Frankl said, the one thing that cannot be taken from you is your ability to focus on what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about your problems, or you're lifting your eyes up to a greater possibility? Will I move on to my future, or will I stay chained to my past? And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to poor Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin, an amazing talent. She had a voice that only comes along once in a generation, and she really spoke to her generation. The other talent she had that is a talent that you can't teach, and that is she could relate to people. When you saw her on talk shows, or you saw her in concert, or you heard her singing, you could feel her pain. And when she laughed, you could feel her joy. Well, that's a gift, that's a talent that doesn't come along very often, and that's something you can't teach. You can't learn that. You either have it or you don't have it. And she had it in spades. If she had lived, if she hadn't developed a habit of heroin, who knows what she could have done. She could have been a wonderful actress. She could have done all kinds of things. But unfortunately, she was chained to her past. And what happened to her was that as her career had really developed, she had become a huge star, she thought she would go back to her hometown. And she thought she'd go back to her hometown high school reunion. And she really wanted to go to her high school reunion, and she wanted to get their claim for her that she had succeeded. This little small town in Texas, way back in the 60s. And when she got to the high school reunion, instead of welcoming her, instead of giving her the credit for her success, they made fun of her. They ridiculed her. They treated her like a freak. And from that experience, it so wounded her. It brought up so much of the pain that she had been dealing with that she gave back into her habit, and she was soon to die. She could not accept the freedom to move past her pain and her past. She stayed chained to it. Now, one of the greatest statements that our founder, Dr. Holmes, wrote, and it takes a little while to figure out exactly what he meant by it. Dr. Holmes could sometimes butcher the English language when he took a mind to it. But the statement is, principle is not bound by precedence. Principle is not bound by precedence. Now, I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you hear it at first, but for people who have been in this teaching, it's almost like, God bless America. When you hear that, you just want to stand up. It means so much to me. I would almost like it on my tombstone, principle not bound by precedent. Right below, thinner at last, maybe those two. But what? I got to tickle myself for that one. What it means, because principle is God. Principle is God is not bound by precedence. God is not bound by history. God is not a God of history. And what that means is whatever you've been experiencing in your life, you need not experience it for another day more. Just because you haven't had love in your life doesn't mean that you have to go one more day without it. Just because you've never felt successful doesn't mean you don't have to go another day without feeling successful. Solid stone is nothing but sand and water and 1,000,000 years gone by. Dr. Holmes says to suppose the creative power of the universe would create us and leave us bound in sickness and illness and loneliness and despair, to leave us bound in those conditions and not provide a way for us to live the life of our dreams, to live the life of our hopes. He says that would be to dishonor the idea of God. You can't have the idea of God and believe that. There is a way. Where do you think those ideas of hope and love came from? They come from God. And since they have come from God, there's a way for them easily to show up in our lives. Right where they are, right where we are, there's a way for the goodness and the blessings of life to show up. We're not that far away from it. And I think that's one of the biggest blessings this virus has provided us. And yes, the virus has provided us some blessings. And one of the blessings is for us to realize that a lot of what we need, we already have. You know, we don't have to need all the activity we've had. We don't really need all the stuff that we've been searching for. A lot of our happiness is already in our own backyard. And we just had to open up to it. Dr. Holmes says the seed of freedom is planted in the innermost being of every soul. But like the prodigal son, we have to return to it. Now, you know, the poor prodigal son, he didn't make many good decisions, but he made one great decision. And that one great decision was, I don't have to put up with this anymore. I don't have to live like this. There's a place where I can go and live better. There's a place where I can go and I'm going to be treated better. And then he acted on that decision. We, one day, all of us, one day, will make decisions to cut ourselves free from the chains that bind us and those things which have limited us from living the life of our dreams and hopes and inspirations. One day we will all walk from the prisons of our minds and look back and realize that the doors were never barred and the windows were never shut. We were free all along. We just had to make the decision for ourselves. We will come to understand that there's no power in the world that can stop us from being the people that God has called us to be. We're children of the Most High, and we are not some kind of knucklehead in need of a good, hard blessing. We're conduits for the power and the love and the mercy of God. And we're here to be awed with how much Spirit loves you, how much it values you, how much it needs you. God needs you. God prayed for you. God still prays for you. Prays for the best of yourself. And that's what we're here to do. And it's the freedom of our souls that's calling us up to accept that. Spirit has laid out the banquet of all of life, but it is to us to step up and say yes to it all. And that's what we're doing tonight. That's what Reverend David is doing. We are answering the call of God. We are stepping up to that greater power, and we're saying here, now, in this lifetime, we are answering that wonderful bugle of life. We are a people on the move. Now's the time, and we're doing it. It's the truth in your life tonight. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. How about some music, Elizabeth?
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. That you fail to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. When you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance. Never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they're worth taking. And loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. Don't let some hell-bent heart leave you bitter. And when you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, well, let's close out our service with an affirmative prayer. I'm going to do this prayer in the first person, but take it in for yourself. If I say something that works for you, hold tight to that. If I say something that doesn't work for you, just let that part slide by. But just know this truth with me tonight. There's but one God, one mind, one power. That power is perfect love, it's divine intelligence. And that power is flowing through me, with me, and for me. And it is calling me on. That power is calling to me to lift my eyes up to my freedom, to my dreams, my hopes, and my aspiration. That power is calling me to lift my eyes up in my soul, to listen to that longing, to know that a wonderful, great day is blooming and blossoming, that a dawn is breaking forth in my heart and soul, and that dawn is for a nation of people that know who they are and whose they are, the children of the Most High, that we are here to walk the soil of a new heaven and a new earth, and that will come through us, not to us, and it will come through our knowing something better for ourselves. So here tonight, I am open and receptive to every wonderful, great idea that Spirit has for me. I'm saying no to none of it. Here tonight, I lift my heart and soul up. I listen to the whispers of my soul that's calling me forth. This is my truth. I celebrate, I rejoice in this right knowing. And I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and perfect, bold and dynamic work, returning to me multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. All right, my friends, know this final truth with me. Your life is not a problem to be solved. It's a miracle unfolding. Your job this week is to go name your miracle, to proclaim your miracle, and to make it your own. God bless us all. Let's go be the miracle it's called us to be. God bless you. See you next Sunday.